All right, folks, welcome to the introduction to Folio. I hope you all had a chance to look through the document we sent out earlier that gave you access to the slides as well as to some resources that you can look at. My name is Laszlo Yakashowski. I'm the business analyst in the library systems part of DLSS. I've been helping explore and determine things that we will be using in Folio. My fellow presenters are Kevin Kishimoto from the Music Library and Yale Hode from Metadata. We will be talking to you this morning about hopefully some important information for how to get you started with Folio. So let me go ahead and get that rolling for everyone. All right. So let's talk a little bit about how to access Folio and also how you can request information or request help.
Laszlo, can you just say something maybe that about Ria and Michelle in the chat in case anybody is?
Yeah, correct. So Ria Taylor from Hoover and Michelle Futornik, who is the project manager for Folio, are going to answer your questions in the chat. So please go ahead and just start firing that at this or anything that you think about as we're going through our presentation. And they'll do their best to answer everything they can. If not, we're going to be saving the chat, getting back to you with answers to your questions. So without further ado, whoops, sorry about that. One of the things that everybody should know is that while you're experts at what you do now in workflows and Voyager, you're not experts in Folio, obviously, but this is an opportunity for you to learn some new methods, some new ways of perhaps making your work more efficient, or thinking through things that may have been the methodology that you did, and now is a different, there's a different way that you can do that perhaps. Be kind to yourself. It's hard to say whenever someone makes a transition to a new state of being, whether that's a piece of software or a move, there's always going to be anxiety. Whoever's on the call, if you can mute yourself, please. Anyway, this is a chance for you to learn something new and also to just give yourself a break. It's going to be a little bit anxiety inducing, but I think given guidance from your fellow staff and from us, I think this will be a successful transition for all of us. So the first thing I want to talk about is Folio is a browser-based software. Unlike with workflows, and I'm not as familiar with Voyager, but I imagine Voyager has a desktop interface. Folio is entirely web-based, so you will be using Chrome as your primary browser. They are investigating whether other browsers could be used but at this point, there's no consensus on whether it's okay to use Firefox or any of the other browsers that are out there. So you will be using Chrome. This is the main URL. And let me just bring Chrome up here real quickly. folio-test.stanford.edu. Once we go past the initial implementation, that URL is going to change. It was probably going to just simply be folio.stanford.edu, but that decision hasn't been made yet. The other thing about Chrome that I like to point out to people, this may not impact all staff, but certainly if you use Folio, anytime you need to download a list, Folio pops up a separate window. So you should go into Chrome and enable that window. Again, it doesn't apply to everybody, but I think this will be helpful to those folks who do need to have those types of lists. And as Folio changes, which is one of the benefits of going to Folio, is that it is configurable. There's development going on in Folio all the time. New features may require that. So it's just a good idea to go ahead and allow Folio to pop up windows now. So let's talk a little bit about how you're going to log into Folio. Logging into Folio is a little different than what you may be used to. There are no group logging. So for example, workflows folks are used to logging in with a group login for your desk, for your department. Everything in Folio is individual. So you are logging in as an individual. This is simple. Once you have a cardinal key set up on your system, you'll simply authenticate. So again, going back to Chrome, right now, this is the login screen. You will never be using the username or password. You will not be entering your CUNET ID. You don't have to do any of that. All you have to do is simply log in via SSO. It should actually be automatic. I just logged out explicitly to show you folks what it would look like. But when you open it, it should automatically log you in. So let's give it a second here. There we go. Now Chrome does ask for this. This is the cardinal key certificate. So you can simply click OK. Once you've authorized that cardinal key, it will log you in automatically the next time. So you'll notice this is the interface for Folio. So I will defer to Yael when she talks a little bit more about this. But this is what it's going to look like primarily. You're going to see individual apps, as well as settings if you have authority to do so. And then again, like I mentioned, you will see who you're logged in as. Right now I'm using a test user just to demonstrate some of the things to you, but it will also allow me to log in as an admin because I'm an admin in Folio, so I can do some higher level things that not all the staff can do. Now, permissions are something that you need to know about. Everything that you can do in Folio is controlled by permissions. So again, going back to workflows, which is most of my experience, normally you would see a series of different wizards clustered together in groups. Folio is different in that it will give you those apps, but control to those apps is decided by permissions. So you'll have certain apps you can see, you'll have certain functions you can perform within apps. Those permissions are assigned by your manager or an administrator in your department or library systems. All staff must have permissions in order to be able to do your jobs. So here's an example of what permissions might look like. Now, I didn't want to show people the permissions app because you may not be able to use it, but the folks who can grant you permissions can give you the ability to use permissions at your level. So for example, if we are talking about a library specialist 2, perhaps someone who does course reserves, the person who assigns you those permissions would go in, would assign you what we're calling an access 5 set for, again, library specialist 2, which basically gives you the ability to use certain access related apps, as well as some that other library specialist 2s don't use. So for example, course reserves. And you'll note this permission here that says courses, all permissions, which means you can create course reserve lists, you can add materials, you can add instructors. So all the things that a course reserve staff member needs are all in these permissions that you're going to be granted. So you'll notice that based on those permissions, what you see is what you get. So again, for this library specialist 2, this person might have this level of permissions and they'll see basically 9 apps here. Whereas an administrator, and this is a screenshot of my own, will have access to all of these apps. Again, what you do in your job is what you're going to get access to. Now, before I move on, I'd like to give people an opportunity to try to log into Folio and test this out for themselves. So if you could all go to a browser, Chrome, and open folio-test.stanford.edu and log in and let us know what you experienced. and see if you're able to log in and let us know. So I'm going to give folks about, a little under a minute here to give that a shot. While folks are trying that out, are there any verbal questions that people might have that Rhea and Michelle are not answering in the chat?
Laszlo, I think you have to remind folks off campus that they need to be logged into the VPN in order to access the test server.
Thank you. Yeah, I forgot to mention that. Anybody who is off campus or the South Campus, or even if you're roaming with your laptop and you're going over Wi-Fi, you will need to use VPN. It's outside the scope of this training session to show you how to do that. But you can talk to your expert partner, whoever handles technical support for your group will be able to set up VPN. All right. We've got some people who were successful logging in based on the chat. Someone who got a forbidden. We'll have to get back to you on that. See what's going on there. Got in with issues. Oh, I see. Some people who are on VPN are not able to get in. Again, that's outside the scope of this training, but we'll get back to you on it. There's a specific form of VPN that you need to pick to get full access. So, or one of the options, not a form. Tomorrow, let's see. Looks like in general, people are able to get through with a few exceptions. So, all right, let me go ahead and move on. So the last thing I want to talk about is service points. Service points are your home library or your place of work. All staff are going to have a service point assigned to them so that you can do work. It also can limit what you can do, or it sets up the ability to put materials in transit to other locations. So for example, here we have a person who has 2 service points. And this appears in Chrome. Oops, sorry. Let me go to my other login. Chrome, why do you do this to me? Yeah, apologies, Chrome is not letting me log in. Well, I'll just go back to the presentation. So this is from my record. I have multiple service points and they would show up under your login, which for some reason Chrome is not allowing me to log in. Oh, there we go. This test user doesn't have a service point assigned, but this is where that service point appears. So for this case, I would have multiple service points. The first service point is my primary one, which would be the green loan desk. This would allow me to check out materials at that desk. Anything that is located in green library associated with that service point. So in other words, all the collections in green library are going to be pointing at this service point, saying this is where you can check materials out. If I were to change and move to my other service point, the media center, I would have to explicitly change this in Folio. I'm going to go ahead and close Chrome and try to log in as myself so I can show you folks, because that's just not very helpful. All right, well, my system is slowed down, so let me go ahead and just keep going because we've got more things to present. I will have to get back to you on the service points. I apologize for the technology failure, but that is a general introduction on how to log in. So I'm going to pass the baton now to Kevin, who's going to talk a little bit about some of the documentation that you may get for Folio. So.
Thanks, Laszlo. Let me share my screen. Let me see. Okay. I hope you all are seeing my slides and not a picture of the Zoom screen. So we're going to go for it. Okay. Just get my notes. All right. So hi, my name is Kevin Kishimoto, and I am a metadata librarian at the Music Library. And before I begin today, I want to just acknowledge that although I'm doing most of the speaking today, this section of the training module was a joint effort between Rhea Taylor of the Hoover Institution and me. So today we're going to talk about, in this section, we're going to talk about some useful resources for help and for reference. These are things such as definitions and terms commonly used when we talk about Folio. We're going to talk a little bit about procedure, or where to find procedures and workflows, or where you will be able to find procedures and workflows and training, and other information that applies to Folio. Some of this information that we're going to talk about applies to the entire Folio project. You know, this is an international project, an international community, and so other things we're going to talk about are very Stanford specific here. Okay, just move that out of the way. All right, so here we go. First thing I want to show you is the Folio glossary. This glossary is created by the international Folio community, and includes terms used in Folio or when talking about Folio, and really sort of formal definitions of these terms. Some of these terms have like common usage across tools and across platforms, you know, things like fiscal year or ISBN, or even item is kind of a term that we kind of use generally in libraries. But some terms have very specific usage in Folio. So, and before I even go on any further, in the invite that Laszlo sent out and was shared among people, there was a link to this document called Introduction to Folio Important Links. And all of these links all of these websites and places that I am sharing today are available in this document. So yeah, so I'm going to be clicking the slides, or I already have them all open, but just so you know that these are available in this document. All right. I am going to, actually, Laszlo, can you mute people? Thanks. All right. So let's see, Folio glossary. So like I said, the glossary was created by the Folio project, and these are formal definitions of what some of these terms are. And some of the terms that are used in Folio are a little bit interesting or different than what we are used to. One of the terms, we'll scroll down and see it, is holdings. Where is it? F, there it is, G, H, holdings. So holdings has a very different definition than what we think of holdings in Symfony, and I probably in Voyager too, although I'm not all that familiar with Voyager. But when we talk about holdings in Symfony, it has a slightly different meaning. Holdings in Folio include the call number and the location and the library and such. Another thing that we talk about a lot in Folio is the instance. The instance is kind of like the bibliographic record. It's derived from a bibliographic record, but it's the way that the staff interact with the bibliographic record in the Folio interface. And Yael will demo some of this a little bit later, so don't worry, it's coming. Another thing we talk about in Folio is the HRID. This is a term that that was new to me. And what HRID stands for is the human readable identifier. This is an identifier that humans can read. There are separate HRIDs for instances and items and other things. And in fact, the instance HRID looks suspiciously like a Symfony cat key. And I'm sure there's a parallel in the Voyager universe, that there is some sort of ID that Voyager folks in Lane often use to talk about a bib record or an item in their catalog. In contrast to the HRID, and I don't know if it's on this list or not, there's a thing that people talk about called the UUID, and that's a universal unique identifier. And this is like this really long string. It looks like a bunch of random letters and digits. So that's the universal UUID is the thing that the computer is interacting with, whereas the HRID is the a string, sort of a shorter string of numbers that that people can read, and you can put things in order and find things. One other thing that Laszlo mentioned is the service point. This is one of those things that we don't have in Symfony, but this is basically the circulation desk or the library or the location where you work and where you will be performing your tasks. And finally, there's one other thing. It's the SRS. I mean, there's lots of terms here, but the SRS is the source record storage. Basically, that's the underlying record, the MARC record, the bibliographic record that is where the information that Folio, it's where Folio takes the information to create its instance. All right, we're gonna go back to the slides. Here we go. Okay, so in order to help with the transition from either Symfony or Voyager moving to Folio, some of the people here at Stanford have created a Stanford to Folio terminology glossary. And it's a spreadsheet at this point, and it's a living document. And what it is it has a column for, this is what we call things in Symfony. And this is what we're going to call them in Folio, or this is what Folio calls them. And this is how we're going to have to refer to them as we move forward. So, and of course, there's a column for Voyager too. We don't want to forget the Voyager folks. So, for instance, the bibliographic record, or the bib, is now called an instance in Folio. When you charge an item out in Symfony, you're checking out a book, it's actually called a checkout in Folio. In Symfony, it's called charge. And where's the check-in? Yeah, here it is. Discharge a book or discharge an item in Symfony or in Voyager, and now it's called a check-in. As I said before, a circulation desk is now called a service point. And one interesting thing that I have noticed is that a user in Folio is not the library user as we think of them, like the patrons, but it actually is a group of all people who interact with Folio. I believe this is true, and if I'm making a big mistake, please stop me. But patrons plus staff are called users in Folio, and this is like a weird thing to me because I know that in Symfony it's much different. You call somebody a user, they are somebody who checks things out, somebody who uses the library, a patron. All right. So this is a handy document, and as I said, this is a document that's in progress and it's continually being added to, and we'll keep working on this. Various people as we find terms that are not the same from our old system to the new system, we try to add them to this. Next slide. Folio Quick Start Guide. So this is this is a guide written up by someone, I don't know who wrote it actually, but this is basically, these are instructions similar to what Laszlo just showed you before I started speaking, is how to log in, where to go, get on the VPN if you're having problems with that, and what to do, which buttons to click, and how to log in. If you are having problems with VPN, as Laszlo said, that's beyond this training session. That's something you need to work with your tech support in order to solve. Also, if you don't have if you tried to log in and don't have an account in Folio, if you're a new employee or something, you may need to talk to your manager to get that sorted out too. All right, next slide is Folio Training Central. So this is a website that the training group, the Folio training group at Stanford has been working on. It's definitely still under development. We are nowhere close to being ready to, not everything's not here, but as things happen, we try to add them. What you'll notice is that it's divided into sections. Some of the training modules will be like today's session that we're in right now. As we get this posted and as we have slides and everything ready, they will be posted to this Introduction to Folio section on the website. Similarly, there are other sections for the different departments and different types of library tasks that you will be doing in your job when we move to Folio, or as we learn to do our jobs in Folio, coming to September. Other places that there's information, help and support gives some contact information for people who you can contact, or email addresses for people to contact. Also, there is a Folio support Slack channel that I think everyone, well, you should probably subscribe to it if you aren't already, just so that you can contact the Folio support folks people who can help you fix your problems. And additionally, there is a support email address, which is right here, and it's also on the sheet and in the slides. This actually creates a JIRA ticket. So if you have a specific problem, you say, I need to figure out how to do this. We're not talking about task-related problems, but like I can't access my account or something. This support ticket will actually create, or this email address will create a support ticket, and someone will address the issue and try to help you. And we have some other links, so quick links and cheat sheets. There's a calendar on here that I haven't seen. I didn't know was here, but it's here. And so I assume we're going to have a calendar of upcoming trainings at some point. Like I said, this website is still under construction. So that's about all I needed to say about that, I think. Oh, and we may have other links to external Folio training. Folio, it is an international project. There's a lot of different libraries using Folio in the world. And because it's an open source project, libraries who use Folio try to share their training, try to share what they are doing so that everyone can learn from it. So we may have some links to external trainings, maybe here in the quick links, I don't know. As I said, we're under development right now. Okay, next slide is the Folio documentation. At this point, there are two types of documentation for Folio. We have the official Folio documentation. This is, as I said, Folio is an international community, and this is documentation created by that community. It's very general. It's mostly official documentation saying this is how you use this particular app and this is how you use this app, things like that. You can get to that using the link here. Folio documentation looks like this. I just want to show it to you really quickly. And what you'll see here is that there is a sidebar on the left where you can see different types of, different categories of documentation. I'm a cataloger. I work in metadata, so I click on the stuff on the left column, and it will open up a new window, which there's not much stuff here, is there? Yeah, let's use acquisitions. I think that's more fun. There's more stuff there. Or yeah, resource management. There we go. Oh yeah, actually, I know what happened. Okay, so first you have the main window, and then you have to go in and say, I want to know how to place an order here. So you click on orders, and then it'll get you to the instructions over here. On the right side, on the right sidebar, there is also a sort of table of contents of what is on this page. So if I'm looking at the order section and I want to know about how to create a subscription or renewal date, click that. It'll get you down to that spot. Now, as you can see, the instructions are very limited because this is a general document for everyone who's using Folio. And so there's not specific information here about Stanford or your library's processes, but this is something that you can look at if you are looking for some general information on how to use a tool. Alternatively, we will be creating specialized Stanford-focused documentation. It's being developed by the various departments at Stanford, various libraries. And this documentation will address the needs of departments and people performing specialized tasks and workflows. And this documentation, of course, will be shared within Stanford. And development of this documentation is ongoing, and it'll become available as it's completed. Each department is working on special sections, and as they become available, they will be shared to the Stanford Folio community. And anything that is not so specific that outside folks can use, we may share that beyond the bounds of Stanford into the international Folio community. All right. Introductory videos. So there's this company called Index Data who has been doing a lot of work with Folio, and they have created a YouTube channel with training videos. If you click on the link, either in the links document or in the slides, or just search for Index Data, there might be there, Folio, but there is a page of Folio specific training videos, or maybe not training videos, but short tutorials, just a few minutes each. Now, notice most of these are for an older version of Folio, but there is one here at the very top, and this is the one that Laszlo asked people to watch before attending today's training session. It's the quick tips for navigating in Folio. This one was a video that we asked Index Data to create for us, and it's for the current version of Folio called Nolana. These old ones are for Kiwi, which is a version from several versions back. So there may be information in these older versions that is still applicable. It's not like everything in Folio changed all at once and looks completely different, but for the latest new videos, we are asking them to create videos for certain specific topics for the current version that we are using right now. Oh, and I guess there's another announcement, is that like today's session that we are recording right now, I believe that we are going to create a Stanford Folio training YouTube channel so that these will be more easily available. It takes a little bit of work to get them uploaded into YouTube, but I think it's probably the best way to share these within our staff and maybe externally if that's the goal. So just keep an eye out for that announcement. We've already uploaded one training video from last week, 2 weeks ago, and we're working on the captions and such right now. And finally, let's go back to the slides. Just to reiterate, for support, please use the Slack channel, FOLIO support, and or send an email to this email address, foliosupport@girasul.stanford.edu. Both of those will get you in touch with someone who can help you either get logged in if you're having problems with one of the apps, you're having permissions problems, you can't do a specific task that you think you should be able to do. Like I'm supposed to catalog things, but I can't get into the inventory app or something like that. Contact one of these, use one of these contact points and someone will get back to you. And I think that is the end of my section. So I'm going to pass it along to Yael. Thanks.
Thank you, Kevin. Can everybody hear me? Great. Okay, I will go ahead and share my screen. Okay, not the one with Kevin on it. Okay, there we go. I'm going to talk to you about how we navigate in Folio. So for some of you, I'm sure this will feel very intuitive, very similar to other web-based programs that you use or or used in the past, but it is very different from what we're used to doing in Symphony, and I'm sure different from Voyager, though I'm not familiar like the rest of the presenters with how Voyager works. But it takes a little getting used to, but once you do, you'll see that a lot of it is very intuitive and actually very easy. So hopefully everybody has been able to log in. If not, this is your chance. Once again, open Folio test. Again, use your SSO. Using SSO, please log in. After you've logged in, again, this is what it should say, Folio test distance or something. I don't know. They might have changed since I made this slide, but I think it says Stanford test instance, but this is what it should look like. Again, yours might look slightly different from mine because people will have different apps. So don't worry if yours doesn't look exactly the same as long as you're in. So I'll give it another, 30 seconds or so in case anybody's still trying or still in front of that white screen, and we'll have a lot of patience. And I think like Michelle mentioned earlier in the chat, I don't think we've ever had this many people log in at once to the test instance. So this is also a good chance for us to see how things are working and what happens when we're going to all try to do some things in a few minutes, and let's see what happens when we all try working in Folio at the same time, because that's something we haven't done yet. Okay, hopefully all of you, or at least most of you, got a chance to watch the index data, the short video that Laszlo shared. If not, again, as Kevin said, you can find it on YouTube pretty easily, and I think the link has been shared with everybody in the invite for this. And we're now going to practice what was showed to us in that video. So again, you should see your permissions, and if you have more permissions than what there is room for on the top here, you go to this little, not more permissions, more apps that you need to work in. Then you'll have this little right here where it says apps. You click on that and you will then get a drop down menu of all the apps, so you can see everything that you can get to at once. So feel free to start, click around with your mouse and, just see what happens, and you'll see what you get to. Now, we're going to play around a little bit now, so see how you go. So if everybody can find the inventory app, I think that is something that everybody should be able to have access to. So if you click on inventory, for me, it's here in the drop-down menu. For you, it might be up on top of on the toolbar. And when you click on inventory, you will see that a pane opened up on the left side of your screen. This is something that Tara from Index Data also talked about in the video, how you'll see that most of your screen didn't change, but it opened up a pane on the left side. So a lot of the apps will have 2, sometimes 3 panes that open, one right next to each other as you click on them. So we'll see that as we move forward. Now here in the pane is where you will do the initial work. Let's say in this case, it would be searching, where we put a search term here. If you were in the check-in app or checkout app, it might be putting in a barcode, but this is where you would do the actual work for this particular pane, because this, as you can see, is still waiting for you to do something else. Okay, let me open Folio now on my screen. So I'm actually in the app and not, oops, sorry, didn't mean to do that. But okay, so this is my Folio app. As you can see, again, lots of apps along the top, that's here. And I'm going to click on inventory. Okay, oh, where's my, there we go. Okay, here, something I'm going to teach you. One of the things that we have here, one of the way to navigate is using these little arrows that you'll find in different places. So here I had clicked on it obviously earlier to close it for some reason. So you can close it if you want to see a bigger screen, a bigger pane, or you can open it as needed. Okay. You can also, if you feel like you need more room, these are all adjustable. You sort of just stand on that line and you can drag. I discovered recently that they're not adjustable on all the apps, but that they are in most of them. So you can adjust it if, let's say, you were putting in a particularly long search term, or you needed to, I don't know, for some reason you needed it to be bigger. You can just, or if you needed it close shorter, smaller, but you didn't want to close it completely, you can play around with that and make it comfortable for you, depending also on the size of your screen. Okay, you can also notice there are different types of buttons here. Again, we have the arrows, like the same way we had up here, we have what this is called accordion buttons. So you can open, if you want to like limit your search in different ways, by language, by statistical code, by whatever, all the different things that we would have also that we see like in SearchWorks that we have the limiters. You can have all these different limiters here. So those are easily, clickable. We also have to pay attention here that there are different places to search. You can be searching the instance, searching the holdings, searching the items. I'm not going to go in depth because we're going to have separate training on the inventory app and how to search, but just so that you know that when you see something like this is how you can click to get to the different parts. Okay. Check my notes. Okay. Okay, so now let's try searching for something. We can all put a search term in here. You can put in search term for your favorite author if you have a book in front of you, but I'd like everybody to just, click. I'm just going to click the last name of an author. You can either hit enter or press search. And as you can see, the pane that I was working in stayed the same, and I'd opened up a new window, this is my results list. Okay. If everybody's playing along, please go ahead and do that. Put in a search term, either click search or press enter after your term. Hopefully you're searching for something that we actually have in the library, so you're getting some results. And now we have a really nice long results list. And let's say I wanted to look at a specific one. I can click on the specific title that I'm interested in looking at. And again, the list stays the same. The window pane got a little smaller, but another new one opened up. Okay, and now we're working in this side. Again, if I need more room, I can close the ones that are, or make them smaller, move them around so that I can see more. Again, here we have the same sort of accordion buttons, those little arrows that you can press to open and close. Let's say this is too much information for you to look at once. In this particular pane, we also have this, and this you'll find it not everywhere, but in a lot of places where it says collapse all or expand all. You will also notice too that we have action buttons. These are two really, this is really important to remember that the action button is specific to the pane that you are currently in. So when I'm over here and I click this action button, it's going to show me actions that I can do here, not to this specific instance. But let's say I wanted to update something in this particular record, in this instant record, then I have to go to this action button. And again, it will show me all the different actions that I can do, which again, we're not going into that. That's not part of this training, but as you know, if you're going to be doing cataloging or something that you have to make changes in inventory in any way, then this is where you would be going to do those actions. As you notice, I'm moving my mouse around a lot. There's a lot of clicking going on. This is something that we're not, often we don't do a lot of this we don't work this way a lot in Symphony. I don't know about Voyager, how much clicking is going on there, but one of the things that is built into Folio are keyboard shortcuts. So again, they're not in every app, but all the apps that do have keyboard shortcuts, you will see next to the name of the app, we'll have that little downward arrow. You click that, and then it gives you a list of the keyboard shortcuts. You click keyboard shortcuts, and it opens up the list of everything you can do. Let's say, again, before I showed you, it had the collapse all button, but you could also do that with keyboard shortcut. Control F, which I'm sure we've all used in many different programs in many different ways, will work in Folio. If you're looking, you need to find something, you have find, cut, paste. They didn't go out of the way. They kept them the same things they were used to. But if you're not sure about a keyboard shortcut, there isn't even is a keyboard shortcut to find your keyboard shortcut list. So if you do Control Alt K, that will open up your shortcut list. So if you want to try that, or try opening, expanding, trying a shortcut, please go ahead. Now, sometimes let's say we've done collapse all or expand all, but we actually just want to open or close one of these. Let's see now. Let's say my administrative data was closed, but I wanted to open it. I could just press the space bar. That's again another shortcut. Press the space bar when you're standing on the name of the heading of that section, and that will open and close that particular section. Again, if you go to the Folio wiki, you can read more about that, what Kevin showed us before, the documentation, the general documentation for all of the Folio community. You can find a lot more information about the shortcuts, but most of the information that you need for keyboard shortcuts could actually be found within the system. Like I said, if there are no shortcuts available, let's see if we're in a different app, then there won't be a little arrow because bulk edit doesn't have keyboard shortcuts, for example. And now what I just showed you again is also something that is really convenient in Folio, is that you can actually, if you click, let's say we're here and I've looked at this and I've done whatever I need to do, but I realize I need to check something else, or somebody comes to me with a question while I'm in the middle of working and I need to go to a different app. Let's say I wanted to, click over to orders and check the order for this particular. I can go open the order app, do my search or look at a particular order, whatever I need to do. But when I click back and I just go back, because it's web-based, I will get to where I was and it will open inventory exactly in the same place that I had been before. It remembers where until I log out, it remembers what I did. Another thing, I mean, this is also things that are intuitive. I mean, like clicking the X on a box will close it. Things that we're very similar, very used to in any web-based program. So moving between apps, you just click on them. But let's say you wanted to now, you've done something, you've updated something and you want to share it with one of your colleagues. Now, if we update a record, we need to share a C key or something like that. It makes with a type in that little funny search thing in Symphony to find it. What's really nice in Folio is because it's web-based, we can just share a URL. Let's say I've looked at this, I've done my work, I updated the holdings, whatever I happen to do, added item, which I'm not actually going to do anything right now, but now I want to share this information with somebody else. I can just copy the URL, and even now I can do Control C. I can put that link in chat. And if any of you click on that now, it should, and you're logged into Folio, it should take you directly to that exact spot that I am in the system. So, okay. You can also have more than one tab with different apps open at the same time. It's really easy, again, navigating between them, going back and forth. And no use, as Kevin said, those unique IDs sometimes are very long. This is the instant HR ID. You never really have to share that with someone because it's enough that you could just send them the URL and they will get to the same place you are. And that's it for my section. If there is any questions, if somebody tried to do something and they didn't work, or something that wasn't asked or answered in the chat, this is a good time. Okay. In that case, yes, Kevin, you can open multiple records, multiple tabs to compare records. The agreements tab is, those are our agreements with the different vendors, I think, licenses and things like that. Probably not accessible to very many people, but it's got to be somewhere. We're not going to be, I mean, not currently, like we have different, like our licenses sit in Coral, and that doesn't necessarily talk to Symphony or to Voyager. So this, hopefully we'll be able to do all of our electronic resource management. Oh, you're right, there is licenses. Good point. If anybody wants to jump in and tell us what the difference between the licenses and agreements are, this is a good chance, because I will be the first to admit that I don't know everything about Folio. And I think this came up in our previous training. A lot of what we're doing is we're still learning as we go along. And even those of us who are supposed experts or are teaching other people, we are far from experts. We're all learning as we go along. So any other questions?
Yael?
Yeah.
I forgot to mention something when I was talking. If you click on the little question mark in the upper right corner, that will send you to the Folio documentation. Well, almost send you to the Folio documentation. You get to the Folio docs page, and then you have to click to go to docs. And then you have to go up to the upper right and click on the release. Yeah, right there.
Right, and we are
Nalana.
currently on, Nalana. And that is
that's
the,
how you
Nalana
get
is the version that we're going to be going live on. So those are the documents you want to read. So yeah, thanks, Kevin. All right, I'm going to stop sharing and hand this back to Laszlo. And again, any questions that you have, please feel free to, put them in chat, and if we don't answer them today, we'll answer them. We'll add them to our FAQ page that we are putting together. And if there's something really, really, important that you're trying to do and you're really worried, and then please just, go to the Slack channel and FOLIO support, and somebody will answer you, because chances are if it came up with you, came up with someone else. All right, thanks.
Thanks, Yayo. All right, so let's talk a little bit about what happens if you run into trouble. So if you are going along in Folio and something happens either now before we go live or after we go live, there's a few ways you can get help. I recommend that you do the usual thing of asking your colleagues first, because then they'll help you determine whether it's something that's going on in your particular installation or your organization, or maybe they're running into the same problem. So it's a larger issue that needs to be reported to our support. There's a couple of things you can do, and this is something that we've noticed with folks as we refresh Folio, or as new features are added, or in some cases, for example, someone's permissions are changed, it doesn't necessarily reflect immediately. So what you can do is simply log out. It seems basic, but log out, clear your cache, which I've added a link here that you can go to Chrome to clear your cache, and then just try reloading the browser. And we've discovered that a lot of times those permissions will show up. The thing that you may be having an issue with has suddenly corrected itself because someone was working behind the scenes from library systems and adding a new module or tweaking some settings, and that didn't reflect until you actually logged out and cleared your cache. There is, again, an issue, as has come up in chat, of like, well, what if I don't see this app? What if the option to do something in that app is missing? Like, I want to be able to add a new order, for example, and it's just not there. That may be a permission problem. So that may be something you should talk to your manager or your department manager. And if they can't give you those permissions, then they can pass it up the chain to folks who can. That's something that you'll just have to gauge for yourself, whether you expect something to be there and that's not. In that case, then you would reach out to your manager. So imagine you've gone through all that, you're still having trouble. What do you do? Well, as was mentioned by Kevin and also in the chat, this is our help page. This help page will give you some contact information for folks who are the first responders in your department, or it gives you some general email addresses that you can contact if you're having trouble. I would really recommend that at this point, especially since we're still installing Folio, that you first go to the Folio Slack channel. There is a channel set up for that. You can subscribe to it, and that will allow you to reach out to your colleagues. And if they've had the same problem, they can obviously report it to you. And this is what the support channel looks like. If you haven't subscribed, you're welcome to subscribe yourself, or if you're having trouble, just reach out to us, and then we can help you with that. So, for example, here someone was added. And this is a place that you can report issues, and you'll get a response from the people who are working on Folio actively. Myself, Michelle, all the library systems folks, and then colleagues and coworkers who are doing the same. As Kevin also mentioned, there's an email. If it's just more convenient for you to just send an email off, I don't want to sit here and talk with someone, I just want to report the issue and then move on. I'm busy today, or for whatever reason, send an email to this email address and it will create a support ticket. So we will respond to the ticket. We will get back to you. We'll get more information. And then we will do our best to figure out if it's something that can be changed in settings, or if it's maybe a new feature that needs to be added. You know, we'll respond to your request for help as quickly as we can. Now, that said, if you report a problem, we need to know as much about it as we can. You know, if you're having an issue with an app and it's not working the way that you think it should, or you've tried a feature and it's grayed out, you know, like you're trying to add a new user record and you just can't, you know, that's an issue with the basic functionality. So do your best to describe what issue you are encountering. If it's something with a particular record, then if possible, give us all the details of that record. For example, here is a couple of ways to look up information for patrons and an item. So if folks would like to follow along at home, and then you're welcome to do this for those of you who are logged in, to just look up a record and I will show you where you can get the unique identifiers for those folks. So let me go to users. So I'm going to look up a user. You would click on the users app. A lot of these are easy enough to just look up. So let's look up Kirk James. As you can tell, he's one of our fake users. Here is James Tiberius Kirk. You click on the user. You'll notice right away, here is his barcode. So you can easily grab the barcode from there. But if you want to get more information, you can look up under extended information. This is the UUID, unique identifier, and that gives you a pointer to this user record. Either of those, I think, would be useful to the library support staff who are working on Folio for them to then look at it. So just take a minute and go ahead and see if you can look up either James Kirk or anybody else you're happy to. You know, I'm an old science fiction fan, so I guess you could look up Arthur C. Clarke or anybody like that. Oops, interesting. Arthur Clarke. We are having some interesting. Not sure why he isn't coming up, but oh, sorry. He's not a user in the system. He's an inventory. So yeah, you can just look up anybody that you want. You'll get basic information about them right off the bat, but here's that barcode that we want. Or if you prefer to give us a UUID, you can just simply go to extended information. And you'll note that, as Yael mentioned, that's also up here as well. So if you just want to cut and paste out of the URL, that's another thing that you can do. Here's the user's ID. Likewise for inventory. Inventory is similar. So I'm just going to go ahead and use the example that I had here of, I didn't list the title. I think that's probably Arthur C. Clarke, but that's all right. I'll find something for you. I'm going to go ahead and look up one of his books, for example. For whatever reason, I'm looking up 2001 and I can't do something with the record. I can't edit it. I can't, you know, do any of the other options that you have. Then you can simply click on holdings. Here's the barcode, and there's a convenient little clipboard where you can cut and you can copy it, or you can also look at the instance itself, or sorry, the item, apologies. And every item has a unique identifier, and you can also copy it as well. And each level of inventory has a different identifier, so it's a nice way that if you need to have, for example, there's something wrong with the instance, you can grab the identifier from here. If there's something wrong with the holding, you can grab the identifier from the holdings. If there's something wrong with the barcode or the item, you can grab it from there. I think the one thing you'll find with Folio is there's a lot of ways to get information about that particular item and disseminate it to others. So that said, that is the end of our presentation. Are there any questions folks have had? I know we've thrown a lot of information at you, and we have been responding to your chats, but here's an opportunity for you to share anything that you'd like. All right, folks. We will do our best for those things in chat that we haven't been able to answer. We will get back to you on it. There have been some fantastic suggestions already in chat, and some issues that have arisen, you know, like simultaneous logins was one of our first issues, so we'll be looking into that. But yeah, thank you all for coming to this. This is the first of several sessions. The future sessions are going to be focusing on specifics, specific roles and specific workflows that folks will have in both what we call the access arena, you know, general circulation, as well as technical. Some of those trainings are being hosted by folks outside of the training group. So you may have noticed Nancy Lorimer did some general calls for folks who are interested in metadata training. So please reach out to her and her group and participate in that. This group will be advertising our next round of trainings shortly, and they will be continuing from now up until we go live in August. I want to thank all our presenters, and thank you for Ria and Michelle for your excellent chat. Appreciate everybody showing up. Have a great day.